Hey guys, Pam here with CraftHow, and I am working on a new project today, so I figured I'd bring you along for the ride. I am trying to make a decal to go around my husband's AirPod charging case, and so I want to show you how I do that. The first thing that you need to do is to actually template the item that you're going to be making a decal for. So in this case, I took a piece of thin plastic and wrapped it around the AirPod container and used a Sharpie to draw along the lines for places where I wanted to make sure that my decal was not going to cover. Then I took off that piece of plastic and I drew a 1x1 square on this piece of cardstock here, and I also taped down the piece of plastic that I used to template the item. So now I'm going to use my square tool and hold shift so that I draw a perfect square. And I am going to draw my square, and then in my transform window make sure that my dimensions are locked, and I'm going to make this square exactly 1 inch. And then I am going to take my picture and resize my picture so that the square that I drew, which I know is 1 inch, matches up with the square that I just made in here, which is also 1 inch. And you want to get it as close as possible. Sometimes it doesn't really work out great because your picture is tilted or something like that, but this looks pretty good to me. Now I'm going to take my line tool, and I know that as long as I don't resize that picture, it is going to be perfect. And I'm going to draw a line down here, and I used shift when I drew this line, so I know that this line is perfectly horizontal. So now I am going to take my picture and pivot it so that my green handle's over here, so that the line for the AirPods matches up, and that is pretty much right. And this is basically how I'm going to judge the size, and I'm going to use my square tool now. Now this line here and this line here, they overlapped each other when I did my templating. So I know that that is the start side and the end side of the decal. So I'm going to make a square that matches that, and then these two lines match up with this bottom part where it starts curving, because I don't want my decal to go down over that section. And now I'm going to zoom in here, and I don't need my horizontal line anymore, so I'm going to delete that. And I'm going to shrink this one down just a little bit because I'd rather it be a little too small than a little too big. If it's a little too big, then it's going to cover the AirPods, and then the hinges and things won't work properly. So I'm going to use my rounded square tool to round out where the back hinge sits. And again, I'd rather it be a little bigger than a little smaller. So I'm going to make sure that my lines come outside of the lines that I drew. Same thing with this one, will come down just a little bit more. And then over here on this side, this is the front side, so we'll do the same thing again. It's a much smaller cutout on this side. Gonna bring that down to kind of mirror that curve a little bit. Moved my picture, so I'm going to hit undo because I don't want to move my picture, I just want to move my lines. And that looks good. And then there is one other spot down over here, so I'm going to use my square tool, or my circle tool rather, to draw the cutout where that is going to go. And then I'll go in and do the same thing down there. And once you've got all of your pieces laid out, don't need this anymore, then what you're going to do is object, modify, subtract, and that'll give you the cutout that you need to start making your design. So that's all there is to it, guys. I'm going to go in and play a little bit more with this, and then I'll show you my final design in just a couple of minutes. Alright guys, here's the template that I ended up with. I tweaked it a little bit and cut it a few times with some contact paper just to test cut it, but here's the final fit. I may go back and tweak it a little bit more, but it makes something really easy to do, and you can always scale your projects perfectly. Have fun!